Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
Yeah, maybe you could pick a different restroom on the turnpike.
Well,
you're a creature of habit.
Creature of habit.
Yeah.
So are they.
I'd be happy to pick another place, but I don't think they will.
The daylight shift is never as lucrative as the night shift.
But I'm, home for dinner, so it makes it all worthwhile.
I mean, yeah, and full benefits.
Yeah.
Can't beat that. All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you. And with me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Howdy, folks.
I am not a crook.
You're
I'm not a crook. But you're
Anymore.
But you're in a cell.
I'm on the second floor, I swear.
By choice.
Something has moved from behind you. Yeah, there's definitely some over your head to your right shoulder. I feel like there's less things.
I
To your
did
right shoulder.
move some things around.
Well, the tropical ascot is gone.
Yeah, that's true.
Of course.
Is that what we ended up calling it?
Very short season for a tropical ascot.
It's 2 weeks, so is it?
Too hot now for an ascot.
Well, yeah, it's it's in the wash.
And
It's
is
gonna make a return.
that a red robe or is that another?
That's a towel with a smaller towel hanging
Small,
down.
so it's a
It's
It's actually a very skinny hand.
It's a towel soaked in blood.
it's a dual. Yeah, the original
It was.
color was white.
It was white.
It's a very skinny handmade from
There was
the
a
TV series.
small incident. It's Pete's handmade towel.
She's very still too. It's just
Actually,
Yeah.
it's
Well, she's dead. So.
Pete wears it.
Yeah. Actually, one of these days, if you look over my shoulder,
Right.
and you see some wires poking out,
yeah, those wires. I was figuring that was just like coax cable or something. Right?
that is the amazing box of wires. And one day I will
box of wires.
reach in and lift that up, and a whole huge
Mm-hmm.
ball of wires.
I heard Netflix just picked that up for the third season. The
Absolutely.
amazing box. Of,
Yeah,
Pete's amazing box of wires.
that is.
We could spend a whole show detangling them.
Where do you see it? It would take weeks. Weeks. That's 20 some odd years of. I don't know what to do with this. Throw it in the box.
I want to know how you
Inside of that,
Obviously, you don't need any of them.
there's a full size telephone in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
wrapped in wire.
Inside there's a full size child.
Full size handmade.
The
skinny one's there.
I have yet to name it, but it's in that box.
You could just throw anything in there, horseshoes,
Right.
speakers. It all just kind of
And they-
gets absorbed into the wiring.
And it sinks into the wiring and becomes part of it.
Yeah.
It's
When I'm like completely retired and can't move and I'm sitting on my chair, they'll just put that box in front of me.
detangle.
And I'll
Have at it,
spend
sir.
the remaining 4 or 5 years of my miserable life.
You'll die and lay your head in the middle of the box.
They'll come in. They'll come back in one day and see you absorbed into the wires. Is the
Not
problem.
just see like a hand.
A hand coming out. And,
Help me.
What are these things? The world used to be connected by wires.
exactly. Oh, geez. Yeah. Well.
Anyway, welcome to the Radio Shack Talk.
Welcome to the. Yeah, really.
Radio Shack talk.
Next week is going to be bulbs and batteries.
There is a store called Bulbs and Batteries.
Well, that's where I kind of got it from. I
Okay.
stole it. I didn't come up with that on my own there. So.
Yeah, I thought that was just the things that you were into at
Well,
midnight.
really, it was. It was just,
How many of them can you stuff?
exactly. But where?
Bulbs and batteries.
Exactly. Bulbs and
It's all ball bearings these days.
It's all ball bearings these days.
It's all ball bearings.
I just saw that the other day, about 3 days ago.
Sugar Mr. Poon.
All right. Anything going on?
What kind of
the
a name
sports
is
world?
Poon anyway? Comanche Indian.
All right, let's start with the NFL. No.
All right. No, I think we're going to start curling, actually.
Curling.
All right.
Well, I actually want to start with the MLB. Obviously, we have the baseball diamond behind us. I just wanted to get this out of the way first before we talk about anything else. Major League Baseball umpires, obviously they started this week. They started on Monday, checking pitchers for foreign substances. Apparently, they aren't going to waste time, though. They're not, and this is for real. They're not going to waste time. They're going to check pitchers' hats, glove, and belt as the pitchers walk off the mound going into the dugout, between innings. So they, don't waste any time. But new report came out today that says if this doesn't work with the sticky substances, if this doesn't help curtail it or whatever, the umpires will perform a full body cavity search on the mound in the middle of an at-bat.
What Pete found out working on the day shift at the Turnpike was that actually not touching people around the belt, that actually diminishes the use of sticky substances.
See, it all works together.
Yeah. So so they want to speed up the game, but yet unless it brings the scores down under football scores,
right?
Then we're just going to have pat downs for sticky stuff.
I want to read just a couple of sentences of this article. I don't know if you read it. It was in the Post. Jerry Blevins was quoted. You remember, obviously, Blevins played for the Mets, played for a number of years, 12 or 13 years.
He owes me like $40.
He does.
Yeah.
It does show you that. Remember
What's
that
the Ace Hardware in Montauk?
I was there that time in the bar, yeah. But in any event, he basically said, and I'm just paraphrasing here. I'm just going to skim through the article as I say it. He said that the fault is on Major League Baseball because it's not necessarily the original reason for pitchers using, and I want to say sticky substances, but the original thing was sunscreen and rosin. So what they would do is they would put sunscreen on their arm, not a ton, just enough, for like if you were putting sunscreen on your arm.
It's a nice SPF 50.
A little bit, yeah, whatever. And then
you don't want to get burned when you're
right, yeah. And then they would bang the rosin bag on it a couple of times. And what that did was the problem here is the baseballs allegedly, this is what he's saying. I've never held one anyway, but like from Major League Baseball, not any baseball. But,
never held the rosin bag?
I never held a rosin bag. I don't
know what you're missing.
Carried them, but I never. Anyway, they're covered in dust. Basically, I was trying to find what it said. It says the baseball is so slippery. It's more dusty than slippery. It's like sitting in your grandma's curio cabinet next to her Precious Moments collection for the last 25 years. Dusty. That's what he said. So it's really dusty. So what they were doing was they were getting the dust off of the ball by putting the rosin on it. They wiped their arm on the rosin covered sunscreen, and then they wipe it on the ball, and it basically took the dust off. Didn't make it sticky. Didn't make the spin rate go up. Didn't give them any reason to do anything else. That's what that was about. Then pitchers started noticing that when they were using other things to get that dust off, that it did help their spin rate, whether it was spider tack or Vaseline, or whatever the hell else they used, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And this is all what he said. So the problem
the former pitcher
that used.
Not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Look the other way.
Yeah. Dust off the ball.
So basically saying that, and he says, everybody is human. If you give somebody an inch, they're going to take a mile, right? So they started using spider tack and everything else, and that did help their spin rate. Now they're cutting that back. Now you're back to. And they've been complaining about the dusty balls for years, and they've been trying to get Major League Baseball to do something about it. A couple of years ago, they did actually do something about it, but not about the dustiness, just about the balls flying out of the ballpark so they can get more home runs. They still were dusty, but anyway.
They're also wound tighter.
Right. So basically what he's saying in a nutshell, it's Major League Baseball's fault. It's not the pitcher's fault. You knew that they were going to come up with something. Shame on you for letting that happen. Basically.
For letting your balls get dusty?
Balls get dusty, yeah.
You just have to play with your balls frequent enough so that they don't get dusty.
Exactly.
They let everyone's balls get dusty. That was the problem.
They need somebody to play with the balls prior to every pitch to get them undusty.
They've enforced this, and Gary Sanchez has a few hits. So there's obviously something to this.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to call bullshit on what Jerry Blevins said.
Well, I think the one person...
There's no other reason other than it's fucking ridiculous.
I think the one person...
were dusty, and so we used to use sunscreen and rosin to clean them. Give me a break. Wipe it on your shirt.
Yeah. So
that is...
I think the one person who had a somewhat logical take on all of this was Buck Showalter, basically saying, all right, if the pitchers can't use anything to control their grip, then the batters can't use pine tar. The batters can't wear batting gloves. Right. The batters, so where does this go? Where does this end? I don't know. It does seem that a little bit, the hitting's up a little bit. I think I texted you guys this the other day. There are only 13 players in all of Major League Baseball hitting above 300. Mm-hmm. And that is kind of crazy, especially because we're still somewhat early in the season. And you usually have at least one or two guys, right around the 400 mark, or sometimes even above it at this point. You always have one or two people on each team that are, at least right around 300.
Well, we're almost
you don't have any of that
through the season now.
You don't have any of that.
No.
And a lot of good hitters, their averages have dropped 30, 40 points this year.
Yeah.
If not more, which is crazy. So maybe there's something to this. I think it's a combination of what, the actual make of the balls, the actual consistency of the balls. I don't know how much obviously if you have a grip, yes, it's going to help you control the pitch more. It's going to help you. The spin rate is going to go up. I don't know how they measure spin rate to that tight of a measurement. It's just crazy. But it does seem like, a couple pitchers who have been accused of this, their strikeouts are down since this became an issue. And it does seem like some hitters who maybe were suffering the most from this are starting to hit the ball a little bit. Runs seem to be up. So I don't know. I used to think this was kind of a non-issue. Maybe it's a bigger issue than we thought.
Well, yeah, and I think it is, and I think the unfair advantage for the spin rates, and speaking of spin rates, really quick, do you think it's a computer that actually measures the spin rate, or do you think it's a guy that slows the film down and just watches and counts one?
No, it's a guy who has really, really quick. He has
quick focus.
20/40 eyesight.
Exactly.
I think there's a tiny man inside the ball.
Inside the ball.
It's actually.
Oh, that was like 240.
It's actually Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg.
Right. In the ball?
No,
there could very well be
every phone is calculating the spin rate at the park, and they're just
doing a median.
They're doing a median of it, and then sending you advertisement based on other things that you looked at and what you were talking about during the game.
Check this spinning class out.
We heard you like spin rates. Yeah, right. How about this globe?
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So,
but as far as that goes, they and to Buck Showalter's point, and I agree with it 100%. Either if you're, find a substance that is not they're not going to deem illegal, that is not going to give pitchers an unfair advantage with spin rates and everything else, or very minimal if that, so that it can give them a better grip on the ball and make that substance legal. And
how about no substance? Because you don't need it to take dust off the ball.
No.
Right?
Forget about the dusty ball.
How about everybody can have a feather duster on the mound?
Rosin is to dry, right? To dry the moisture. So no substance is acceptable. And then for the batters, you can wear gloves, just no pine tar.
Well, LeBron uses, rosin chalk and throws it into the air before every basketball game.
Throw it up into the air.
I mean, he puts it on his hands. Does that help with the spin rate of his jump shot? I don't know. Maybe Ben Simmons should try some of that.
I think so. I think he should.
I think Ben Simmons actually had spider tack because the ball didn't leave his hand.
Yeah,
he went to shoot and just stayed there.
Yeah, how about we just don't have any substance?
Just leave it alone.
Right, because look, no matter what, let's say substance A is legal and they deem it okay, and it's not going to. Well, the one thing Blevins said that I think is correct, unfortunately, is if you give anybody an inch, they'll take a mile. Right. So who's to say you don't squeeze out the toothpaste out of the tube or whatever and put some other substance in there that actually does, help you.
Right.
And then they go, "What are you using?" Something, and you go, "No, I'm using brand A that's perfectly legal." Yet inside
then you got to go even further and have the umpires be the ones that are supplying the substance to the pitchers every time they need it. Give me a squirt. Give me a squirt.
Just have nothing. Just have nothing.
Stop.
That's all.
Anyway, well, as far as it coming back around, I think it's working the opposite for the Mets because they've been shut out 4 times in the last week. They've gone 2-6. Oddly enough, they're still like 4 games in first place, but they've gone 2-6 in the last 8 games.
Because the division's very mediocre.
Well, yeah, obviously. So on that note, Donnie Stevenson has been relieved of his duties, so he's gone. And Chili Davis won't pick up any calls. So
no.
But
no.
In any event,
he might after our next segment.
He might after our next segment. Yeah, but the Mets offense has been pitiful the last 8 games. It's 1.6 runs per game. 1.6 runs per game. It's ridiculous. A team batting average of 162.
Well, at least you didn't win 2 out of 3 from the A's and then lose to the Royals at home.
Well, there you go. Well, I mean. Yeah, well.
But that's only because the Mets didn't play those teams.
That's true.
It could have very well happened.
On a better
hitting the
note,
ball right now.
on a better note for the Mets, Jacob deGrom, 12 straight starts allowing 1 earned run or fewer, or 1 earned run or none.
Spider tech deGrom, as he's known.
Right, yeah. That's a Major League Baseball record. And here's the actual graphic on it. So here you go. 27 innings pitched in the last 5 starts. 27 innings pitched, 7 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 43 strikeouts.
Yeah,
crazy,
fantastic,
insane numbers. So.
Yeah, I heard he's actually made of tacky glue. So
he is. That's why it's legal for him.
It's legal. Yeah. It's just if it gets too hot, it accidentally seeps from his pores. But other than that, he's actually
he melts a little bit.
That's right. His father was an Elmer's glue, and his mother was a caulk gun. And
that's why when he goes into the dugout between innings and he puts the jacket over his arm, it's actually a cooling bag.
That's right.
Breathes on the ball.
That's right. Yeah.
Comes out of his lungs.
There you go. Right.
He's formaldehyde free, but very sticky.
And then it evaporates by the time he gets to the plate.
It's gone,
so there's no trace of it. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, other than DeGrom, though, I mean, the rest of their pitching staff is like starting. I mean, they're getting their offense back now, little by little. I mean, whatchamacallit? McNeil's back. Conforto's back today. He was going to be back yesterday, but there was some COVID scare up in Syracuse. And
COVID scare in Syracuse. Sounds like the beginning of a Springsteen song.
I think it was, actually, as a matter of fact. But Stroman left the game yesterday in the second inning.
That's my excuse.
Stroman left the game early yesterday in the second inning. Left hip soreness, but he got an MRI today, so he's good to go. But Gazelman's out for 6 to 8 weeks with a torn right lat. Familia's on the IL with right hip impingement. And now Joe Lucchesi is out for the rest of the season and probably next year, too, he's getting Tommy John.
I can't wait for you to be in the retirement home because you'll just do a daily report of everybody's aches and pains. Yeah.
Joey's got a bad hip.
Marjorie had her hip done. She's not going to be available for a while.
She's on the DL till
Myrtle couldn't play bingo tonight.
That's right. That's right. But Barbara, she's looking good, and she can still take her teeth out
on her own.
And everyone else will be going, "Shut up, Jeopardy's on."
Exactly. But
Aaron Rodgers hasn't aged a day in the last 20 years.
Well, as far as the Yankees go, Luke Voigt got back yesterday. He got off to a slow start, though, his first game back, huh?
Yeah, right out of the gate.
Home run and a triple.
Doing Luke Voigt things. Yeah, Luke Voigt getting a triple is like anybody else with an inside the park home run. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But and he reached base 3 times. He was batting 182 before yesterday.
So. I think Voigt and LeMahieu had all of the Yankees hits, and that was it. They just can't look. The Yankees. I've been watching a lot of them because they've been on, and they're not content with either the one game they do get out to a lead, then they blow it. It's like we got to be behind by at least 3 runs going into the 8th inning for us to have a chance here. And then Chapman's going to make it very, 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 very interesting. Who knows? It's
Would you have taken Cole out after the 7? Would you have? He gave 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts. I mean,
what did he have? 100 and.
It was just
20.
Was it 120? Was it that much?
I thought it was close, 117. I thought he had.
It was over 100, but I didn't think it was that much over.
I could be wrong.
But obviously, Well, I mean, Cole goes back out. There's no guarantee he's not. I doubt he's given up 4 runs though.
Right. If the sticky tack was still, I would put him right back in there. But,
right. With that out.
Spider tack, whatever. Fun tack. If it's
thumbtacks. Put him back with thumbtacks.
That's right. Just put some thumbtacks in the ball. Yeah.
2 on either side and 1 in the middle. Just whip that thing and you're good to go.
Yeah.
You got to put them all the way in though, because otherwise they fly out and it's.
Cole was on the hook there for the loss for a while there, and then obviously the bullpen blew it. But the Yankees cannot afford to not get wins when Cole is on the mound. I mean, the rest of their pitching staff is just they're not bad. I mean, overall composite stat wise, you have to say, well, the Yankees pitching is like most teams. Has done very well. In fact, the Yankees are right up there. They have not allowed a lot of runs.
Right.
The problem with that is that their bullpen is getting worked literally to death, and they're inconsistent. And so when you're relying on your bullpen for that many innings, occasionally somebody's going to blow a lead.
Yep.
But I don't know. We'll see. Luke Voigt's back. I'll give credit where credit's due. Sanchez looks good at the plate. I don't know what he's done. It looks like he's changed his batting stance a little bit. He's keeping his leg on the ground and not
keeping his leg on the ground. He's not just high kick and
lo and behold, look, because I mean, Gary Sanchez doesn't need a lot of motion to. I mean, he's a tank. So all he needs to do is put the bat on the ball, and that's what he's been doing. And he's been hitting it into the gaps.
In the
last home run the other day, and God, that's a welcoming sight. And his on base percentage is pretty high for a guy whose average is not.
In the last 20 games, he's hitting 344 in the last 20 games.
Yeah, he's
6 home runs. He's got 5 home runs in the last 10 games.
Yeah. There's him, Urshela, LeMahieu's hitting the ball a lot better. He's had a lot of liner outs and things like that, but he's had a couple multi-hit games. I think when I forget what the record is, though. If DJ LeMahieu has a multi-hit game, I think the Yankees have won 95% of the games that he's had 2 or more hits. It's insane. But they're just above average.
Yep. Yeah.
And we'll see.
They're 1 run below. They're -1 in run differential right now.
And run differential, that's a credit to their pitching. Because they're still 3 games above 500, or there's 4 games above 500?
4 games above 500, and the teams in front of them are almost plus 40, and Tampa Bay's plus 69. So,
and they seem they're. I think, if my memory serves me correctly, I believe that they are 5 out of 6 against the White Sox and the A's.
Okay.
And so they seem to be one of those teams who maybe focuses a little bit more when the better teams come to town. And the other thing is that the Yankees have always had a great home record. I think they're 1 game above 500 at home. In fact, yes, they are. They're 19-18 at home.
Yeah.
So that's troubling. And they're down 2-0 to the Royals again.
Yep.
Yeah, they're 1 game over against teams above 500. So maybe they get a little bit cranked up, I guess.
I guess so.
I don't know. They just need it. I mean, again, another. I sort of like this lineup, although why are we moving Voit down to 5th? Aaron Boone just. I would think that baseball has not changed that much that guys do not want consistency in who's in front of them, who's behind them in the lineup, and where they are. I mean, yes, LeMahieu and Judge have consistently been 1-2, but you had Voit at 3rd, you had Voit in 2nd, now you got Sanchez and Stanton. Yeah, Stanton's your logical cleanup hitter, and that does Voit being 5th helps Stanton in the 5th spot, but it's just every day it's different. And Andujar's in left today, so that should be interesting.
Should be.
But I like his bat in the lineup. So we shall see.
Yes, we shall. Speaking of, not speaking of, but moving on to former Yankees, our Yankees and former Yankee managers. Did you see the hoopla in Philly yesterday?
Regarding Ben Simmons, or
no, not that one.
Joe Girardi?
The Joe Girardi Max Scherzer hour.
No, I did not pay attention to this.
You didn't? No. Max Scherzer was checked for illegal sticky substances, and at the beginning of the game, and then I believe it was the 4th inning, Girardi made the umpires check him again, and then in the 5th inning, Girardi made the umpires check him again, and then after he struck out the side or whatever he did, or I guess he struck out the 3rd bat or whatever. As he's walking off the mound and walking back to the dugout, he's staring Girardi down. Just,
Who is? Scherzer?
Scherzer was staring Girardi down. Girardi comes out of the dugout as if to say, come on, let's fight. Let's go.
Yeah.
And they threw Girardi out of the game.
Yeah.
So, but whatchamacallit, the Nationals... The Nationals GM, Mike Rizzo, said, called Girardi a con artist and said he had an ulterior motive. I'm not sure what the ulterior motive could have been. Maybe he needed to get home early yesterday for
all those Funtac checks aren't going to do anything. I'm just saying maybe got himself thrown out so he can go, have dinner. Oh, I got you.
But I don't. But everything else did happen, so it was very weird.
I didn't know you can request for somebody to be checked.
I didn't know you could either. Apparently, you can either that or they were just saying, okay, we'll do it. Why? I don't know why he's not.
I'm surprised there has not been more tape of George Brett freaking out after the pine tar incident. I mean, come on. I think we're just getting bored with baseball.
Yeah, just looking for things. I'm not sure exactly what. I haven't read anything. I haven't read any explanation from Girardi today. I mean, there could have been something. But I haven't seen anything. So.
Who knows? I mean, I don't know.
I don't get it.
I'm a big Joe Girardi fan, so that doesn't necessarily bother me too much.
I'm not saying that it's a bad thing or whatever, but maybe he was right. Maybe Scherzer was hiding it somewhere, but didn't make sense 3 times. I don't know. Whatever. What are you going to do? Who knows? In any event, moving on from that, did you see Yu Darvish has now become the first pitcher in Major League Baseball history to record 1,500 strikeouts in under 200 games.
Yeah, it's somebody who has gone under the radar. I mean, he's had – yes. Here's my question, though. Obviously, the strikeout is an incredibly powerful tool as a pitcher. Mm-hmm. There's sometimes, though, that I really wish that there was less strikeout pitchers because, especially with this new man on second, extra inning deal, a ground ball pitcher would be helpful in a lot of situations.
Sure,
I feel like we're going to see strikeouts continue to go up. Mm-hmm. We're going to see records get broken with strikeouts. Is it that big a deal? I don't know. I mean, it's a big part of the game. It's a great accomplishment. Congratulations to you, Darvish. But aren't wins and ERA a little bit more important than strikeouts at the end of the day? And back in the day, wasn't necessarily a correlation. The best pitchers weren't always strikeout pitchers.
Right.
I mean, that did obviously changed in the last 20 years, and you saw it in the late 90s and on with Clemens and Randy Johnson. Yeah, I mean, some of these pitchers just happen to be the best pitchers were strikeout pitchers.
Mm-hmm. Kurt Schilling.
Yeah, Schilling.
Not so much toward the end of his career, but early in his career, he was a strikeout machine.
Right. Well, and later on, he had a pretty high strikeout rate too. But it just seems like, much like batters, the depth of pitching has gone away. When was the last time you saw a reliever who was not just all heat, just all heat? Right. And that's dangerous because, you might strike out 7 of the 8 guys that you face, but the one guy you do face is going to hit a home run off of it.
Right.
It's interesting that, and I get it. It's a great accomplishment, but especially this year, it just seems like the rate of strikeouts is very, very high. And I guess my point being too is that those pitchers who were great strikeout pitchers in the past weren't one-trick ponies. They weren't just strikeout pitchers.
Right.
No. You look at somebody like Garrett Cole. He's a strikeout guy. He also gives up a lot of home runs. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then you got somebody like DeGrom, who's a freak of nature, and there's very few, there's nobody else I don't think in his league right now as far as current pitchers. And he's having one of those stretches that's unbelievable in the last couple of years. But a lot of these guys who are strikeout pitchers are also giving up a lot of long balls.
Yeah. Well, because if you miss your spot by a little bit, that perfect strikeout pitch
because the off-speed pitch and curveballs and even the pitch, the types of pitches being used has changed dramatically. Everything's heat now, even whether it's a two-seamer or whatever the case might be, or it's a cutter. It just seems like there's not a lot of off-speed and movement in the pitches, whereas it's all heat with movement. Now they're muching. I mean, the amount of speed and velocity that these guys are getting is incredible. It's also limiting the amount of innings that they can pitch.
Right. Mm-hmm. And throw into the mix also that I don't know what the right way to say this. The strikeout has, in essence, been devalued. I mean, it's not really the right way to say it.
It's not what it was.
It was a point of pride not to strike out, right? You had the golden sombrero for 3 in a row, and whatever it is, for 4 in a row. I don't remember. And that was, I think it was something dirty for 4 in a row.
I was going to say something, but I just let it
and that was, that was a point of pride, and it was a point of shame to a certain extent. And
please don't Google Golden Sombrero.
No, don't Google. But now, not that nobody
Golden Sombrero for 3 times and 4 times was a Cleveland Steamer.
Not that nobody cares about it, but players, who have whatever 100 plus strikeouts, it's not as big a deal as long as you're hitting the home runs too.
Right? Yeah. If you're getting up there, yeah.
So you've got these strikeout pitchers, and everybody, with two strikes on them, they're still swinging from the heels, swinging for the fences.
Right.
Yeah.
If you can explain away all your strikeouts in a season by saying you hit 45 home runs, it's a different story.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
all solo in the 7th inning when the game's out of
reach.
Exactly.
All between the 5th and 7th inning.
Exactly.
A total of one.
Nobody in scoring position.
A total
out of reach.
8 batters on
means absolutely
on
nothing.
It's amazing how many people. If you notice, there's a lot of people. RBIs are kind of, I think, down a little bit this year, and you see a lot of people have 19 home runs and 26 RBIs. I'm just like, okay.
No one's on base.
19 home runs and 20 RBIs.
Yeah, 18 RBIs. I don't know how they did that.
Exactly. He never crossed home plate.
Yeah, something got screwed up along the way.
But
that did happen to some. Didn't somebody have a home run taken away because they missed first base? Or
missed first base.
Yeah,
first or second. Yeah, they missed. They missed taking a base. Yeah, but anyway,
probably more than we realize. They just don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in the NBA when they're already on the court when they take the ball out of bounds. They're already
right.
They've took 3 steps out of bounds and then dropped the ball on the court.
Right. Yeah. I want to talk about Shohei Ohtani. I don't know if you see what he's done in the last week.
Yeah.
Has he made a movie and cured cancer?
Almost. He made a movie about curing cancer.
He's playing catcher now while he pitches.
He's playing catch. He throws the ball, runs to the plate, catches the ball.
Yeah, he's
calls a sign, gives it him. Yeah. Anyway,
doing the Bugs Bunny.
First base, second base. Yeah, 6 home runs. This is in 1 week. 6 home runs, and he got a win with 1 earned run and 5 strikeouts.
And one game he was pitching. And they decided, well, just leave him in as DH.
Right, yeah.
Well, look.
So, he batted for himself.
He batted for himself. Yeah, in essence.
Yeah, I mean, are the Los Angeles Angels the Washington Wizards of baseball? I mean, they have, 2 incredible stars who have incredible stats and great numbers.
And they're 1 game below 500.
And they're 9 games out of first place.
Right.
So, Ohtani's great. And he should be right up there in the top 3 for MVP right now. And hopefully it sounds like he's going to be in the home run derby. So that'll be fun.
And Pete Alonso is going to defend his home run derby title.
Yeah. Vladdy is not. I heard he's not going to be in it. Vlad Guerrero Jr. So
Vlad Guerrero Jr. is not.
Vlad Guerrero Sr. is.
Yes, he is. He's coming back to
he will do it. Yeah,
he will.
Yeah, Dave King.
All of the fathers from the from the Blue Jays.
That's right. Dante Bichette is.
Dante Bichette's gonna and Craig Biggio's coming back.
That's right.
Right.
Raul Mondesi, his kids.
It's going to be a whole montage of comparing their mullets to their dad's mullets.
Hey, that might be an interesting.
That's on the 3rd. That's the day after the All-Star.
That's right.
That might be an interesting
mullet night. Right.
Wrinkle on the home run derby, father and son teams against.
That'd be good, right?
That'd be interesting.
Why not?
Back in the day, the Griffeys probably had I don't know. There's probably more father-son combos, not that I played at the same time, but in Major League Baseball than we think.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. No, there's
a lot of times the son doesn't necessarily live up to
fill the father's shoes.
Yeah, you see that.
Well, how many do they start with in the home run derby? 10 guys?
I think it's 612, and
and they whittle it down.
That's right. Serena Williams is actually going to be in the home run derby.
They cut 610 down in the first cut, and then they.
So whatever it is, instead of having 10 individuals, let's say, you have 5 father and son pairs.
Well, it's interesting. Tickets for the home run derby are almost as much as the All-Star game right now. I've been checking because I'm like, if it gets down to a certain price point, maybe I'd be interested in going. But the home run derby individual tickets are going for over $200.
for the home run derby.
For the home run derby.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So it's
now. Did they bust out a case of the old
Rockies balls?
Super wound up balls.
Oh, they got the humidor. They got them all in the humidor.
They got them all in the humidor, right?
Yeah.
I think they
took all the cigars out, put all the balls.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how many of these guys, especially these bigger guys, or maybe get a little winded, in the third round of this, because they're coming up to, So we'll see. It always seems like there's somebody that the challenger is always somebody that you wouldn't expect that comes out of nowhere, and then
right.
You know what they should do when they hit them out? They have to jog around the bases.
That's right.
Yeah, every time.
Every
Exactly.
Single time.
That'll speed up the game. That'll be a 9-hour.
You start it on Monday.
I don't think it will, because I
it on
think
Wednesday.
after 3 or 4 times around, they'll just be in that thin air. They'll just be like,
And they still have the same 3 minutes to hit them all.
I think you should get extra points if you hit one of the kids.
Maybe
Pete Alonso wins with 4 home runs.
Maybe an extra 90 seconds.
Well, if you don't hit a home run in the final round, but you nail one of the kids that are in the outfield in the head, then you get an extra
get 2.
point. Yeah.
Get 2 for
How
that.
many kids can you take out?
Exactly, with one hit, one swing.
I mean, I wouldn't put my kid out in the outfield with like Stanton hitting or Vlad. I mean, imagine if they don't lift one and they just line it.
They have lined the balls out there.
I know, it's crazy. And the other guys who I think I'm surprised no one's gotten hurt, and I hope they don't, but are the guys who pitch. I mean, it's amazing nobody's just gotten a liner back.
Well, they're behind a screen. Right?
I know, but still, there's a moment there where you're exposed a little bit.
Right.
It's yeah. I mean, it's
just take the screen down and it falls on top of them. There.
Well, yeah, I love when these guys don't lift one and they get that liner, especially if it's a foul ball and people aren't paying attention. And it's just like, wow, that's 100 and something miles an hour coming at you. I would drop the chili dog and put your hands over your face.
You might want to pay attention to this.
That's right.
Why do they put like a big screen like behind the clay, right, just on the edge of the outfield, about 10 feet, 15 feet high. So obviously a home run's going over that, but if it's a liner, then the kids are protected.
That's a good idea. It's probably bad for watching it. It also takes away all the fun.
This is true. Then they can't get the extra 2 points.
Plus, if it ricochets back hard enough, it whacks the pitcher in the back of the head.
Right.
Then he gets 3 points.
Straight over the mound. Bonk. Oh.
That's right. If your pitcher catches, you're off the net, then you get another ball. You get that free ball.
Coat the net with spider tack. Then
That's
it just holds the ball. There you go.
Right.
It's like one of those, like Velcro.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think if they really want to have a home run derby, then they should actually have a real catcher sitting behind the plate, and they should let Jacob deGrom pitch to everybody.
That's his all-star contribution. He pitches to everybody in a home run derby.
You know what you could do is take the best pitcher from each league and have them pitch to the guys from the opposite league.
There you
so have
go.
deGrom pitch to the AL.
That's what they do. Oh, I see. I thought you were having a realization of what the actual All-Star game was.
You take all the
best players from all the teams, and you put them on one. I don't know. Let's call it like a
super team,
a star team.
Star team, yeah.
And it could be all stars.
And it could be all stars. And
right, exactly.
Then they play
best
a game.
Pitchers pitches to the other team.
No, for the home run derby, Jacob deGrom pitches to the AL. Who's the best American League pitcher?
Cole.
I mean, maybe
Shohei Ohtani.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Well, what's his name? Also on Oakland is having a pretty.
Oh yeah.
So whoever it is, he can pitch to the National League.
Shane Bieber's up there.
Just have Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber's up there. Yeah.
That's right.
But you could do all of that.
And then you have like a 2-1 victory.
The other note,
and just have 9 outs.
Yeah, exactly. You get 9. Yeah, you get 9 outs. You're done.
Unless nobody hits a home run, then you put a guy on second.
Right, exactly.
Well, Kyle
you can drive him in.
He doesn't run. He just stands there. You still got to hit a home run, but you put a guy on second. What am I doing
He
here?
encourages you. Come on, you can do it.
Come on, Johnny! Come on, rip one. Yeah,
that'd be fun. That'd be great. Speaking of pitching, just one more note on the Mets. I have the perfect solution for the Mets pitching issues right now with people going down on the in the bullpen, need another starter, spot starter, whatever. There's a guy playing in the Mexican League right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Might want to make it. Might want to play.
Is he going to be? I think he's going to be 49 before the season's over.
I think he's going to be. And just this quick little stat: Jacob deGrom has as many MRIs this year as he has earned runs, as he's given up.
So do I.
There you go, too.
I would love to see Bartolo Colon come back. I mean, he pitched a 90-pitch complete game, gave up 2 runs.
Mm-hmm.
70 of his 90 pitches were strikes.
Yeah. There's no reason that he can't be playing somewhere right now. I mean,
he probably needs like 8 days off in between starts.
Right, but I mean, the fact that the competition he's facing, whether they're better or not,
I don't know about that.
Well, yeah, but regardless of that, I'm saying he's still pitching strikes. It's not like those would be balls in Major League Baseball. You know what I mean? There's still strikes. So I'd place a call. Bring him up.
He hit his first home run when he was 47 or something like that, 46?
45 or 46, something like that. Yeah, in San Diego. That was great. That was great. All right. Before we get to the top 10, we'll go back to baseball. We got our weekly quiz that I'll give you, and this is going to be different for both. It's going to be the same.
I did not prepare for my quiz.
You didn't
The
prepare.
answer is C.
The answer is C.
B.
Which it's going to be the same one for both of you this week.
All right.
So you're whoever wants to go first can go first.
Let's answer simultaneously.
Can I copy off of Pete's test?
Copy off of Pete's test. There you go. All right. Ready? It's the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
These players are in their prime.
Okay.
You're the manager. Who's leading off? Ready? I'm going to give you 5 names. Which one of these guys is leading off? Pete Rose, Lou Brock, Tim Raines, Ichiro, or Ricky Henderson? Who's leading off? Who's going first?
I'll take Ricky. Ricky loves the big stage. Ricky's got more leadoff home runs than anyone. Ricky can steal bases.
Yeah.
And
Ricky doesn't do as well down lower in the order, whereas I think is the question who do I think is
this is in their prime. Well, but was Ichiro's prime considered here in the States, or was he in his prime?
I would imagine his prime was probably the first few years in Seattle. That would be be my guess. That would be numbers wise that we looked at when we had him on.
Might be my
on
second
list,
pick,
so.
but
Gotcha.
But yeah,
I think Ricky.
I think Ricky. Yeah.
Harry.
I don't know. I think any of them would be fantastic.
Well, of course, any of them would
I think Pete Rose is a better all-around get-on-base kind of guy. So, I mean, if I just had to pick one for my team, then it's Rose. If they're all on my team, then I don't know. I think maybe Lou Brock or Ricky Henderson, only because I think they're better. I think they're only leadoff hitters in a lot of ways.
Everybody else is a great leadoff hitter, but they can also bat in other holes too.
Right. And the thing about Tim Raines, which is interesting to have him on that list, I'm not sure Tim Raines ever had a prime. He was just good for a really long time.
Right.
And he was good way into the later part of his career. I mean, I don't know. He's a guy who definitely slips through the cracks when you're talking about, some of the best
definitely
all-around players. Yeah. He did it for a long time. Kind of quiet guy. Played until he came to New York. He played a little bit in areas where he didn't get a lot of exposure. But you look at some of his numbers later in his career, and you're like, what? He was that old and hitting 323,
right?
Playing left field still. I think you can't go wrong with Ricky Henderson or Lou Brock was another great, but Henderson was probably a better hitter than Brock in a lot of ways. Ichiro would be interesting too. I think Ricky or Ichiro would be my choices.
Ricky or Ichiro, and Pete's going with Ricky. Okay, well the answer is no, I'm kidding. No, these are opinions.
The answer is Nicky Rivers.
There you go. All right, these are opinion polls. Good, cool, awesome, nice one. All right, next week we'll have another. Why don't we go to our top 10 list for today? How about we do that?
Right. Top 10 hot dog vendors.
Top 10 hot dog vendors from 1980 in Citi Field in Shea Stadium.
That's right.
There you go. Actually, we'll go back to the Polo Grounds. We'll see what that's like. Anyway, top 10 designated hitters in Major League Baseball history. That's our That's our top 10 list for today. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not say, in true Get On With It podcast fashion, we have 12.
Well, and a little disclaimer, we also have people who have showed up on other lists. So we could have gotten this down to 10.
But we're too goddamn lazy to cut them out.
I noticed that they were I seem to be the guy who remembers the other people who were chosen.
No, I remember. I remember. Yeah. We had two.
Don't.
We have two or three on this list that were.
But there's a lot. But all of these guys, most of these guys, if not all of them, did play at least a chunk of their career as position players.
Right.
So
I think if you look at, and that is one thing that I do look at is, like, I think these duplicates, especially, maybe so more on this list than any other, but like what they did as a DH and what they did as a first baseman or whatever, were both super impressive and worthy of, you know what I mean? Absolutely. It's not like, he played 10% of his games at first base, but he had really great, and then the rest were at DH. They had really great numbers all around, so we're just going to count him as a first base.
I would say 10 out of these 12 I think of as, maybe even 11 out of the 12 I think of as DHs.
Yeah. I mean there's a few on here, and there's one not on here. The only one of the voting that we did, the way we do it, there was only one gentleman that did not make this list, and that would be Travis Hafner, and I'll just mention him now. Not that he's an honorable mention or anything like that. I'm just mentioning it now because Travis Hafner has the distinguished identity as being the only player in Major League Baseball history that has the highest percentage of games played at DH.
He was almost exclusively a DH.
Yeah, right? It was like 1,100 or 1,200 games at DH, and he only played 72 games at first base. That was it.
Well, good for Travis Hafner.
That was it. So,
and the only guy on our list who sounds like a country star.
Travis Hafner. I think he was afterwards.
Also, his nickname was Pronk.
Pronk, yeah.
Which rhymes with Gronk, so he doesn't get my vote.
Yes, there you go. It's off, right?
Anyone whose nickname rhymes with Gronk, you're off. Nope.
Anyway, but all right, so let's get started. We're going to get started with number 10. That's always a good place to start. Number 10 is going to be Mr. Jason Giambi. Jason Gilbert Giambi, to be exact. Played for the Athletics, the Yankees, back to the A's, and then he finished up his career with the Rockies and the Indians. 5-time All-Star, American League MVP in the year 2000. 2-time Silver Slugger Award, and American League Comeback Player of the Year in 2005, which was probably his best year with the Yankees. His career batting average was .277. He had over 2,000 hits, 2010, 440 home runs, and 1,441 RBIs. Gentlemen?
You know, it's interesting when you look at a lot of these guys, I would say that, or the lower 7 or 8 on this list, and you compare their stats, they're all remarkably close to each other.
Right.
He's played at bats, average. Some of the guys are a little younger, have more home runs. It just seems like they played in there, but they also struck out a lot more. But it's amazing how similar they all were. And I think Giambi's numbers, when I looked back on them, they were more impressive than I thought they would be.
Right.
I mean, I always knew he was a good player. I just didn't think he had as much playing time under his belt. And he was the comeback player of the year in 2005. He played for a while there after that and was still pretty productive.
He played 10 years after that.
And the thing about Giambi, much like I think a few people on this list, and definitely one that's going to be, I'll just say, neck close to the top, he was kind of a big-time clutch guy.
Yeah.
He had some big moments, I think he definitely deserves to be on this list. His numbers, certainly rank him when you compare him to some of these other guys that we're going to talk about in a few seconds. He's right there, if not better.
JG the Juicer.
There he is.
Good for him. Although, you know what? I got to admit, I probably would have wanted his life for a couple of years there.
Yeah.
Baseball star, partying all the time.
He was Gronk. He was Gronk before Gronk.
He was Gronk before Gronk, yeah.
And all he had to do was, stick a needle in his ass a couple times a week or whatever it was. So good for him.
There you go.
Everybody was look. Everybody. I'll give him this. Everybody was doing it right. He made the most of those days. So
there you go. Very true.
Good for him.
Anyway, number 10, Jason.
Steroids, the spider tack of its time.
The spider tag of yore.
The spider tack of your youth. Yeah,
exactly. Okay. Number 10, Jason Giambi. All right, move on to number 9. Number 9, we have a tie. 2 people. It's a 2-person tie. Our number 1, it's number 1 or number 2. One of our ties is Mr. Rafael Palmeiro. Rafael Palmeiro Corrales, to be exact. Played for the Cubs, the Rangers, the Orioles, and then back to the Rangers, and then back to the Orioles. Like to bounce back and forth. 4-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove Award winner, 2-time Silver Slugger Award winner. Career batting average .288, 3,020 hits, 569 home runs, and 1,835 RBIs. Gentlemen?
I mean, those numbers are just, I mean, you forget about them a little bit. Obviously, Pete, I'm sure will have a steroid disclaimer following my summary. And that's also why I thought it was interesting, because a lot of the guys that were sort of, I was trying to decide on were all, let's just say, accused of or convicted of taking performance-enhancing drugs. Over 3,000 hits, almost 550 home runs, and 1,800 plus RBIs.
Yep.
And when he did play for a while there, before he had some injuries, when he was playing in the field, he was a pretty good fielder. But I do think of him as a DH, and he was a tough out and a great hitter. I just don't think he ever really, had his chance in the postseason to do much. But there's a asterisk next to his name, but he was a hell of a hitter.
That's true.
He's actually my first baseman on my Nintendo 64.
There you go.
Major League Baseball.
Your Nintendo's all-steroid team.
2000 team. I did choose him.
Juicing it up to the oldies.
Did you say you did choose him or juice him? What did you say?
I don't care what he does as long as he hits.
It's juicing to the oldies.
I'm a manager now, so.
Exactly.
I have never used steroids, period.
Exactly.
End quote.
Out of sight, out of mind. You don't want to know. Don't ask, don't tell.
No, I don't care. Him and Jason can shoot up all they want.
They can shoot each other. There you go. Number 9, tied for number 9, Mr. Rafael Palmeiro. Brings us to the other tied for number 9, and that's Mr. Hal McRae. Harold Abraham McRae, to be exact. He played for the Reds and the Royals. He actually managed the Royals and the Rays afterwards, and he bounced around to about 6 different teams as a coach. 3-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion in '85 and in '06. '85 with the Royals, and in '06 he was a coach with the Cardinals. Where am I? Silver Slugger Award winner in '82. American League RBI leader in '82 as well. Kansas City Royals Hall of Fame he's in. His career batting average was .290, 2,091 hits, 191 home runs, and 1,097 RBIs. Gentlemen?
Yeah, Hal McRae, kind of an underrated guy. Surprising stats when he popped up on a lot of lists, because I knew his name and knew he was a pretty good player, and I thought he was a manager as well. But, I was surprised at what he did. Not top shelf compared to, obviously, some of these other guys on this list, but definitely worthy of number 9 consideration.
I think he had a really good run there, especially with the Royals. He was kind of that second guy. I mean, we think about George Brett on that Royals team. There's not a lot of other offensive-wise. You think of Saberhagen and some of the other pitchers, but that Royal, he was right there. I mean, he was a big part of their offensive output, and he did it. He had a number of really good years there. He was just off my top 10 list, but certainly. Again, when you look at the stats, I mean, how he's number 9 compared to a guy who had 800 more RBIs and 400 more home runs and hit 7 points lower. I don't know, but Hal McRae, congratulations, you did it, buddy.
There you go. Number 9,
you made our list. Only 11 other people can say that this week.
There you go. This is true. Number 9, Hal McRae. That brings us to number 8. Number 8, we have our other tie, two-person tie as well for number 8. Our first number 8 is Mr. Eddie Murray. Not Eddie Murphy, to some of you, Eddie Murray.
No, not Bill Murray.
Not Bill Murray, yeah. Steady Eddie Clarence Murray. He played for the Orioles, the Dodgers. He played for the Mets for a couple of years, in the couple of years that were forgettable for the Mets. We'll leave that one alone. He played for the Indians, the Orioles, the Angels, and then back to the Dodgers. He is an 8-time All-Star, World Series champion in 83 with the Orioles. American League Rookie of the Year in 77, 3-time Gold Glove Award winner, 3-time Silver Slugger Award winner, American League home run leader in 81, RBI leader also in 81. His number 33 is retired with the Orioles. He's in the Orioles Hall of Fame. Of course, he's in Cooperstown, too. His career batting average, .287, 3,255 hits, 504 home runs, and 1,917 RBIs. Gentlemen?
He's such a great player that he was, I think, number 8 on our all-time first baseman list. Yeah, I mean, Eddie Murray's. I've always said this. The Orioles have had some great players. He's, when you're doing the Mount Rushmore of the Orioles, to me, he's there. Yeah. And he had a hell of a career. He was always one of the best offensive players in baseball. He was a good first baseman for a long time. Yeah, he was a DH for a while there. I don't know what the balance of his games at first base versus DH were, but yeah, I mean, his numbers are just incredible. He was a great player. He's a Hall of Famer, right?
He's a Hall of Famer. He's in Cooperstown.
Yeah. I was surprised when I looked at his numbers and started doing some comparisons because I thought he would be down towards the bottom of the list, which we have 12. So, and I looked at his numbers, and I think I probably had him a little higher than either of you guys did, maybe. But
I would have had him really high. I just didn't have him on my list because I had him. I think I had him as like my number 5 or 6 first baseman of all time.
Yeah. He was on. He along with one or two other people were on our first baseman list as well.
Yeah, great player.
Yep, there's number tied.
See if I can pull up his.
No Hal McRae, but yeah.
He's no Hal McRae. No, he's not.
He's
above Hal McRae, though. So.
Of course, he's way better than Hal McRae.
2,400 games at first. Wow, only 573 at DH.
Yeah, he had a fifth of his games were.
So I'm gonna go out and say you guys kind of fucked up on this one.
Yeah.
I
should have looked at that first.
Where do you find how many games? Is it the Baseball Reference?
It's all the way down at the bottom of Baseball Reference.
I can never find it.
Yeah, it's all the way down at the bottom.
Such a great website.
If I had looked at it before, or I made the list, then
well, I mean,
then I probably wouldn't have put them on.
There's another.
Look, if we didn't have these guys on here, we would have had an actual top 10.
We would have had an actual.
We
top
just
10.
Like to give a little extra.
We always do that, and to be honest with you, there's another gentleman on this list that had about the same amount. He's in the mid 2000s at first base and right around 500 or so at DH on this list, and that would be Mr. Rafael Palmeiro as well.
No, I know.
So.
I just didn't put him on my first base list, so I figured let's get him on the DH.
Throw him on this one, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's hard. I sometimes forget about guys. It's like really my big struggle during all this is where do I put Pete Rose?
Yeah, because he's on every list.
Put him on every list.
You could put Pete Rose on every single list, right. Obviously, except for pitching catch.
Some people might not know. Anybody under the age of 40 might not know that he wasn't a pitcher.
Pete who?
Yeah.
There you go. Well,
you're going to really alienate our sub 40 audience by putting Pete Rose on the center field list.
Best relief pitchers of all time, Pete Rose.
I'm not listening to this show anymore. These guys don't know what they're talking about.
We should have done that, actually. Just like, wait a minute, wasn't Pete Rose on yesterday's list? And the week before us? And the week before us?
That would have been a great running bit. Damn it!
We're just trying to get Pete Rose actually on.
Yeah, somebody.
I think if we paid him $400, he'd probably come on.
I think we should do a remote and have lunch with him.
That's right.
I think it only costs like $1,200 or something.
That's right.
It's $400 a piece. Bing, we go to.
And it's a really nice.
You know what? That's worth it.
And they put on a good spread too.
It's kind of it's a nice restaurant too. It's not like we're going to McDonald's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I put on a jacket and tie.
Nice afternoon at Panda Express with Pete Rose.
And spend 3 hours with Pete Rose, or maybe 2 hours, and that would be one of our shorter podcasts.
That would be a shorter podcast. Exactly. Okay. That would be great. Hey, you know what? We get those sponsorship dollars rolling in. We can actually reinvest it in lunch with Pete Rose.
It's good to have goals.
We might not be able to get Pete Rose, but I bet we could get Hal McRae.
We could definitely get Hal McRae. I think we could.
Or I think he's dead now, right?
Whatever.
Not Hal McRae. Fred Blassie, right? He's dead.
Fred Blassie.
We can do my lunch with Blassie. You ever see the Andy Kaufman
Oh yes,
Classy Freddie Blassie.
Yeah, I know who he is. I just didn't know how he got into the top 10 designated hitters of all time.
Yeah, but he played a good. Freddie Blassie played a good first base back in the day.
I'm just talking about
top wrestling managers of all time.
I'm just talking about sports figures that we might be able to get on the podcast.
Exactly. Let's get Captain Lou at that point. I mean, not to hell.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyway, back to the list. Tied for number 8, Mr. Eddie Murray. Also tied for number 8 is Donnie Stevenson. I'm sorry. Had to say it.
Chili Davis, folks. Yes, chili fries.
Chili fries. No, it's Charles Theodore Davis. Chili Davis, folks. He played for the Giants, the Angels, the Twins, back to the Angels, the Royals, and he finished up his career with the Yankees. He coached the A's, the Red Sox, the Cubs, and obviously his latest stint was with the Mets up until the Donnie Stevenson debacle. He is a three-time All-Star, 3-time World Series champion in 91 with the Twins and 98-99 with the Yankees. He's in the San Francisco Giants Wall of Fame, or on the Wall of Fame, I should say. Career batting average was .274, 2,380 hits, 350 home runs, and 1,372 RBIs. Gentlemen?
Played a long time and was a consistent hitter. I mean, he came into the league as a pretty good outfielder. Yeah. But, as most players who have the longevity that they do, sometimes they wind up as a DH, and he's certainly worthy of being on this list. And again, a guy who it seems like he played like 40 years. I feel like he started in the early 80s and played into the mid 2000s. And it's just, it's crazy to think of him because I can't really put a time frame on him, but he was really good. Did he win a ring with the Yankees? I think he did. He won
2 with the Yankees in 98 and 99. He actually finished. That was his second ring with the Yankees. Was his last. He retired after that.
Yeah, the Yankees really sort of became a collecting ground for aging sluggers, and I think that team also had David Justice on it and Strawberry. Is that true? I can't remember.
Straw was not there. Straw was there for the 96 and the 98.
Right, it was earlier. But I think David Justice was there with Chili Davis. I don't know. And Tim Raines.
Tim Raines and Justice were there.
Yeah.
That was that. Yeah. It was the core four and Raines, Davis, Justice.
And the old age home.
Exactly.
That's right. If they could have found Dave Winfield, they would have brought him back.
They would have brought him, absolutely.
Chili Davis, great hitter, great name.
Yeah. Great guy.
Not as good as Donnie Stevenson, apparently.
No. We might be able to get Chili Davis now. He's free.
This is true. He is. We can work on that. Lunch with Chili
Maybe
Davis.
if we offer to take him to lunch with Pete Rose.
We can work that out. Let's get on that. Jim, get on that. Jim's a jack of all trades. He's a stats guy and lunch booker.
Chili and Pete.
Chili and Pete. Is that what we're having for lunch or who we're eating with? Anyway.
Why not both?
Why the hell not? All right. Also tied for 8, Mr. Chili Davis. All right, now no more ties. We're moving to number 7. Number 7 is Mr. Don Baylor. Don Edward Baylor, to be exact. He played for the Orioles, the Athletics, the Angels, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Twins, and then finished up his career back with the Oakland A's. He managed the Rockies and the Cubs too for a while. He was the first Rockies manager.
Long time for the Rockies.
Long time, yeah, 6 years. First Rockies manager.
Yep.
And he coached a plethora of teams. Coached on the Mets and Brewers, Cardinals, Braves, a bunch of others. All-Star in '79, World Series champion in '87 with the Twins. American League MVP in '79, 3-time Silver Slugger Award winner, Roberto Clemente Award winner, American League RBI leader in '79, National League Manager of the Year in '95 for with the Rockies. He's in the Angels Hall of Fame, and his career batting average is .260, hit 338 home runs and 1,276 RBIs. Oddly enough, I don't have his hit stats, but Don Baylor. There you go, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those. There's like 4 guys that I think of when I think of DHs, and Don Baylor is one of them, and they all sort of look the same.
Yeah.
They all.
Baylor had a better mustache, though.
He did, yeah. I mean, back in the day, he was known as the guy who would definitely take one for the team and with his hit by pitches. Right. If you look at it, though, he really didn't have a lot of walks. I think that was a little bit exaggerated just because I think, 25% of his walks were when he got hit by a pitch.
Right.
But he was a good player and was part of those Yankee teams that were really good for a number of years, just couldn't quite get over the hump, He played a long time. He's definitely a baseball guy. I think he was a pretty good manager and a good player, and certainly deserving to be on this list. Whether or not I don't.
Whether it's for
to me, this list is just sort of like, all right, these are the guys we have on here. The rankings, there's no rhyme or reason to them until you get to like the top three.
And most of them are top. I would say I wouldn't even say top 3. I'd say top 5.
Yeah.
Sometimes 4, sometimes 6, but those in that general vicinity.
Yeah.
Everybody else below that is.
But he was he was a pretty crappy fielder, and he was primarily a DH. Yeah, he wasn't a great fielder.
Well, I mean, to make our DH list, he didn't need to be a good hitter.
No,
a good fielder.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
I mean he is a true DH. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
There's 4 guys that I think of when I think of DHs, and he's certainly one of them.
Certainly one of them. There you go. Absolutely. Number 7, Mr. Don Baylor. We move to number 6. Number 6 is another repeat, and it's Mr. James Howard Thome. Jim Thome. Thome, I know. He played for the Indians, the Phillies, the White Sox, the Dodgers, the Twins, the Indians, and then he went back to the Phillies and finished up his career with the Orioles. 5-time All-Star, Silver Slugger Award winner in '96, American League Comeback Player of the Year in 2006. That would be with the White Sox. Roberto Clemente Award winner, National League Home Run Leader in '03. His number 25 is retired by the Indians. He's on the Indians Hall of Fame. He's on the Phillies Walk of Fame. He is in Cooperstown. Career batting average, 276. Career hits, 2,328. 612 home runs. Big number of home runs. And 1,699 RBIs. Missed 1,700 by that much. Jim Thome.
Yeah, a little closer as far as where he played and how many games. 1,106 at first. 818 as a DH, so not nearly the 5-time spread
of others.
Of Eddie Murray.
And and by the way, almost 500 games at third base.
Yeah, he started as a third baseman, didn't he?
Yeah.
He started third base.
So, more legitimately, I always think of him as a DH.
He was a slugger. I mean, he was that quintessential lefty.
Yeah.
You got to remember, slugger. a lot of these guys had. It's not like they played, the first 12 years of their career at first base and then the last 8 years of their career at DH.
Right.
They were DHing while they were first basemen. The days that they were off, they were DHing. They weren't playing first base. They would.
Yeah, he went from the National League to he was in the American League, and then when he went, so his games at first base kind of went up when he was in the
he
National
was
League, especially with the Phillies. Yeah,
right.
Because he was on the Phillies.
He was on the Phillies.
Phillies World Series team, right?
He was on the on the Phillies he was on the Phillies for 3 years, and then he was on the Dodgers for a year in 2009. And then he was back on the Phillies for
so he won with Cleveland
for 5 years. He won with
Did he
never won the World Series.
He never won a World Series.
Never won a World Series. He won with Cleveland. Yes, in '54 he won.
Yeah,
with
that was a joke. Yeah.
Played third, and then
continuing the joke.
He played power forward right next to LeBron.
Yeah. He was. He won with the Cavs. Yeah.
Look, his home run and his RBI numbers, his slugging numbers are just up there. You can't argue with his stats.
No.
I like Jim Thome. I feel like his stature is a little elevated. I don't know why. I just think it's the kind of blue collar white guy kind of image or something.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it.
He's loved by a certain
white collar blue guy.
Well, look, I think I think he would pop up on this list way ahead of a lot of other guys who maybe have a different place in society and should maybe have a little bit more recognition.
I got you.
But yeah, he's a good player. I mean, he was okay first baseman. He was a hell of a slugger.
Yeah,
struck out a lot, had a decent average, had some big time hits. It was a tough out, and he was sort of a guy who I think was like a lot of these guys on this list that sort of represented an era where the DH was really dominant in baseball as far as what the production of the DH was. And he's certainly one of those guys. So I think of him more as a first baseman, but his slugging numbers are just, they're kind of incredible when you really think about it.
They're too good to overlook.
If you look at his home runs to strikeouts, 612 to 25.
It'll never happen again.
And change. That's not bad.
No.
Basically 1 for 4.
Yeah. No, he was a masher. He was hitting home runs for a few years there. I mean, he was always at the top of the list. I think he led the league once or twice at home runs, and but he was always up there. I mean, it was just he was consistent for a 10-year span there. He was always hitting 25, 30 plus home runs a game.
Yeah, he hit let's see, from 96 through 2004. He hit in the 30s 3 or 4 years. Everything else was 40 and up. So
I mean, that's unheard. Look,
pretty good.
To get on these lists, consistency does count.
It does,
and that's what separates the great players from the good players. And I do think that this type of longevity that we're seeing from some of these guys on this list, I don't think we're going to see it moving forward.
No,
because the one thing you can't. Jim Thome certainly didn't have days off for personal days or rest. I mean, he played hurt. He played until he was sort of a guy too that looked older than he probably was at a certain part of his career. And but he certainly wasn't going to take the day off because he had a strained left quad.
There's
or
162
or a niece's cotillion to go to. So.
That's right.
162 game average, 148 hits, 39 home runs, 108 RBI.
And he always had 35, 40 home runs a year. It's just and his average RBI was probably 110. He had a lot of
strikeouts. By the way, 162.
Yeah,
162.
162, 160.
Yeah,
game average.
Well, look, but a lot of these guys, when you look at that era, I mean, Giambi was a little later, but Giambi also, for the length of his career, Giambi had a lot of home runs and a lot of RBIs, but he also struck out a lot. Now, if you go to somebody like Baylor or Hal McRae, or you go back a little bit, those guys didn't strike out as much. They were more contact hitters as well as power. But you get into the era of Jim Thome and then later into some of the guys who played, during that time or a little later, and they were what we're seeing now. They were the precursors to what's going on now.
Those kind of all or nothing players, 30 years ago.
Yep.
There you go. Number 6, Mr. Jim Thome. Brings us to number 5, the top half of our list. And we're going to start it off. We're going to kick off with number 5 with Harold Douglas Baines, to be exact. Played for the White Sox, the Rangers, the Athletics, the Orioles, back to the White Sox, back to the Orioles, the Indians, back to the Orioles, and back to the White Sox to end up his career in 2000-2001. He actually coached for the White Sox, too, for, 12 years, from like 04 to 2015. 6-time All-Star, World Series champion in 05 with the White Sox as a coach.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
Silver Slugger Award winner in 89. His number 3 is retired with the White Sox. He's in the Orioles Hall of Fame. And, of course, he's in Cooperstown as well. Career batting average, .289, 2,866 hits, 384 home runs, and 1,628 runs batted in. Harold Baines, gentlemen.
Again, a guy who's, I think, underrated. He was really consistent. He was kind of an all-around hitter, but then you look and you see, geez, almost 400 home runs and quite a bunch of RBIs. Yeah. And yet he was, I sort of think of him as a guy who was dangerous too, and he got on base. I don't know what the split was between his games in the field and as a DH, but again, I think he started as an outfielder, didn't he? Coming into the league, I don't know. I seem to remember him being a pretty good fielder early on in his career, and he just seemed to be around forever.
He started as an outfielder.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh yeah, he was
quite a good one. I think he might have won a Gold Glove in the outfield too. So
30 games in center, 1,042 in right.
Yeah, he was a right fielder. That's I certainly remember that.
So 1,062 total in the outfield, 1,600 as a DH.
Yeah. it just seemed like, again, he managed to play deep into his career, and that's where he's best served. He's a hell of a hitter. His numbers
played 22 years
are way better than what you would think they were, and I'm glad he was able to make it back to the White Sox. He wasn't a big part of that World Series team, but the fact that he was able to get back onto the White Sox and win one was, it was really nice.
It was. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely a guy you go, Baines, yeah, he's a good player. And then you look at his numbers and you go,
oh, yeah, he really
yeah,
is
he's a little better than I thought.
Yeah.
Exactly. Number 5, Mr. Harold Baines. All right. Brings us to the top 4. Mr. Paul Molitor is number 4. Pardon me. Paul Leo Molitor. Molly and the Igniter were his nicknames. He played for the Brewers for the bulk of his career, from 78 through 92. And he played for the Blue Jays for 3 years and the Twins at the end of his career for 3 years. And he managed the Twins for 4 years, just a few years ago, up through 2018. Yeah. Seven-time All-Star, World Series champion in 93 with the Blue Jays. World Series MVP in 93 with the Blue Jays.
Yeah. He was quite the acquisition. I mean, that was another team who went out and got some players for that team.
Yeah. 4-time Silver Slugger Award winner. American League Manager of the Year in 2017, too, with the Twins. And I think he's from he was actually born in St. Paul, Minnesota, so it was a big homecoming when he went to the Twins and then managed them later on, as a matter of fact. Milwaukee Brewers number 4, obviously the bulk of his career is retired. He's in the American Family Field Walk of Fame, the Brewers Wall of Honor, Major League Baseball all-time team. He's in Cooperstown, and his career batting average, .306. Highest thus far on our list tonight. 3,319 hits, 234 home runs, 1,307 runs batted in, and 504 stolen bases as well. So there you go. Paul Leo Molitor, number 4. Gentlemen?
I mean, I just think of him and Robin Yount on those Brewers teams, back in the 80s. He's probably the best all-around player who played most of his games as the DH. He didn't look like a DH. He didn't hit like a DH in a lot of ways. But, he played the majority of his games there. You could argue, with the numbers that he had, he could be anywhere from 4 to 1 on this list.
Yeah.
And another guy who I don't really think he played, bulk of his career in either Milwaukee or Minnesota. Again, won one with Toronto. But during the heyday, he was constantly up there, as the top hitters in baseball, and just a guy who got on base. And those Brewers teams were pretty good back in the day. And when you think about the Brewers again, being in the American League back then,
he spent his career in the American League. He wasn't in the National League,
right? And challenging the Royals, in that division for a long time. That was that division. That was it. So. Paul Molitor. I think he's a name that people know, but he should probably be more of a household name based on just what he did.
So it didn't quite have the masher numbers. Wasn't a big home run hitter, but more than 500 stolen bases.
Yeah, and look at the RBIs. As a guy who I think he was typically like a 2 hitter. He batted second in the lineup quite a bit. He was. How many runs did he score? That's really. He just seemed to be a guy who was always on base,
and almost 1,800 runs.
Yeah, and you think of a lot of these DHs as a guy who's gonna, if they do get a hit in the 7th inning then they're gonna have a pinch runner for him because they don't have to worry about putting somebody out in the field as a replacement. But Molitor is one of those guys who was never really a big, powerful, lumbering DH kind of guy.
No, he was. And I'll throw these numbers at you too. This is 12,167 plate appearances, 1,244 strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about that.
Yeah,
1 in 10.
Yeah, crazy.
Or no, less than that.
Yeah.
Is that 1 in 10? Yeah, that is 1 in 10.
So, roughly. Pretty close enough to 1 in 10.
Close enough.
Yeah, he was a guy.
Could, in theory, he could go, multiple games without striking out, at least by the average.
Exactly. Yeah, he was a great hitter. Look, we've always in the history of baseball given more credence to the home run and to the power hitter. but Paul Molitor is definitely one of those. Talk about the
on base,
top hitters, top all around offensive players in baseball history. He might be in the top 20 on lists if people really look at the numbers and dig a little bit into just what he did. He was a hell of a player.
My second favorite
Brewer
guy named Paul.
Second favorite guy named Paul.
Okay.
Who's your favorite guy named Paul? McCartney?
Paul Rogers.
No, it's a friend of mine named Paul.
Close enough.
He's a shitty baseball player.
Pretty high praise.
Not nowhere near as good a DH as Paul Molitor.
No.
Excellent. Gotcha. Well, there you
Definitely the best Paul on our list.
He's the best. He is the best Paul on our list.
Yeah.
There you go. Number 4, Paul Molitor. Brings us to number 3. Number 3 is none other than the Big Hurt, Frank Edward Thomas Jr. Frank Thomas, folks. Played his career with, bulk of his career with the White Sox. Then bounced around a couple of years. He went to the Athletics for a year, Blue Jays for a couple of years, and finished up that last year with the Oakland Athletics. 5-time All-Star, 2-time American League MVP, 4-time Silver Slugger Award winner, American League batting champion in '97. His Chicago White Sox number 35 is retired. A lot of White Sox on this list. He's in Cooperstown, of course. Career batting average 301. Career hits 2,468, 521 home runs, and 1,704 RBIs. The Big Hurt, Frank Thomas, number 3, gentlemen.
Quintessential DH. You know, like I said, the next 3 on this list are that's who I think of. I mean, he's a great player. Yeah. And now he's doing really cheesy commercials for some sort of pseudo men's potency pills. Money. But the housewives all seem to really like him in the commercials.
They really like him.
So good for him.
What's not to like about Frank Thomas? Yeah, look, he almost won the batting title a couple times, and you look at that really from when he came in the league and just look at his first 7 or 8 seasons. Mm-hmm. Batting averages all over 300. Sure. On base, 450 plus. He was a monster. 32 stolen bases too, by the way.
That's right.
That's over the course of his career. So
there you go.
It's like 1 a year.
And there you have it. Number 3, Mr.
The Big Hurt.
Mr. Frank Hunt.
One of the best nicknames.
Oh, the Big Hurt, absolutely. Great
on
nickname.
This list.
Yeah, that's for sure. There are some better nicknames out there, but definitely not on this list. Number 3, Frank Thomas. That brings us to number 2. Number 2 is Mr. Edgar Martinez. And his nicknames are Gar and Poppy. Those are his nicknames. 7-time, he played his entire career with the Seattle Mariners, 1987 through 2004. 7-time All-Star, 5-time Silver Slugger Award winner, Roberto Clemente Award winner in 2004. 2-time American League batting champion. American League RBI leader in 2000. His number 11 is retired with the Mariners. He's in the Mariners Hall of Fame. He's in Cooperstown, having just gone a couple years ago in 2019. And then his career batting average 312, 2,247 hits, 309 home runs, and 1,261 RBIs. Number 2, Edgar Martinez.
And he was a member of Alice in Chains for a brief period of time.
He was in Alice in Chains.
He was the bass player between Mike Starr and Mike Innes. Yeah.
He played bongos for Pearl Jam for a couple of years.
He did, yeah.
Didn't we all, though?
Yeah.
This is true.
Is there anybody more clutch on this list than Edgar Martinez? I'm not sure there is.
Yes. The next guy was definitely more clutch.
A little bit.
Smidge.
Trust me. I can. Trust me. I know.
Other than the best on the list, is there anyone more clutch on this list than Edgar Martinez?
Up to this point.
And another guy who I think is underrated. I mean, it's his average, and just he didn't play quite as long as some of the other guys, although he did have a good career. His home run numbers aren't way up there, but he was, again, just a great all-around hitter. Yeah. And he was consistent, really consistent. And year after year after year was one of the best hitters in baseball. And
he really was.
He was a guy who came to the plate. You feared him just as a general hitter more than as a basher. Right. Because he would go yard, but
how many doubles and triples did he have?
He could hit into the gaps. He could pull it down the line,
especially in that old, in the where did they play before Safeco? The Kingdom. I mean, he just those big outfields out there. He just lace one in the gap, and it would just seem like it would take the outfielder 20 minutes to go chase it down.
Yeah,
it really would. And he was running full speed too. That's how big the outfield was.
How many extra bases?
Exactly. I think he would have had more home runs if he played, because he was a righty. So I mean, imagine him playing, Fenway. I mean, he would have, maybe his slugging numbers. Stadium. Yeah, slugging numbers would have maybe been up a little bit. But he's, again, a great hitter, and a guy who, played in a smaller market on the West Coast. A lot of people in the East and Central time zones didn't get to watch him play a lot. Sure. This was before, everybody was watching baseball games on their phone. And he was a perennial, top 5 player in baseball for a long time.
Yeah, he was. He definitely was. Gar.
Yeah, that's just lazy.
Gar. Just leave off the Ed.
His nickname is Ed.
How much ink are you going to save by leaving off the ED? It's been said before.
Yeah.
I just had to say it. Well, his nickname was also Poppy, and he's number 2.
Seems like that seems to help you as a DH.
It does. It does. Well, I mean,
he was Little Poppy.
He was Little Poppy, and speaking of Little Poppy, at number 2, that brings us to number 1. Number 1 is who else but Big Poppy. David Americo Ortiz Arias, Big Poppy. He played for the Twins for 6 years, and then he finished up his career for 15 years with the Red Sox. 10-time All-Star, 3-time World Series champion, World Series MVP in 2013, ALCS MVP in 2004. You remember that one, Harry, right?
Yeah,
that ALCS?
Unfortunately.
All right. 7-time Silver Slugger Award winner. 2-time Hank Aaron Award winner. Roberto Clemente Award winner in 2011. American League home run leader in 2006. 3-time American League RBI leader. Boston Red Sox number 34 is retired. He is in the Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame. He's not eligible till after this year to go to Cooperstown, but I don't. We'll see how that pans out for him next year and going forward.
He'll be a 90%er easy.
I was going to say, yeah. Career batting average 286, 2,472 hits, 541 home runs, and 1,768 RBIs. Number 1, Big Poppy, David Ortiz.
Well, I mean, look, as a Yankee fan, it pains me to. He was one of the Red Sox that I really liked, and whenever he got up in a clutch situation, my gut just dropped because I knew something bad was going to happen. If you're a Yankees fan, and I would argue that he's maybe the most clutch postseason hitter of all time.
Yeah, and
I think you would have to really dig in to find somebody who was. At least within the last 20 years. He was great. He's the quintessential DH. He's deserving to be number 1 on our list. And he is just a phenomenal hitter. And more importantly, he seemed to always come up big in big situations. And I would argue he's probably the most beloved Red Sox of all time.
Oh, I would say. I mean, they're Ted Williams is still up there, but
Ted Williams is up there. But I'll tell you what. David Ortiz did something that Ted Williams couldn't do. And to bring not only a World Series, but multiple World Series, to break that long drought and do that. I mean, he's up there with Larry Bird and Bill Russell as far as, Boston heroes. I mean,
absolutely. No, I totally agree.
And Tom Brady, of course.
We've talked about it before. You think about it, the 86-year drought that there was. They are, in this century, the winningest baseball franchise. So, and he's why I chose my jersey that I wore today, obviously, for number 1 on our list.
My body would break out and
if you put it on.
In hives if I put that on. I'd go into an epileptic shock. Yeah,
there you go.
It's he's the best ever. I mean, I didn't even have to look at the numbers. If you look at Edgar Martinez's number or even Paul Molitor's, you could argue that maybe their numbers were a little better. But the eye test and just watching him in the postseason.
Clutch and what he did in the postseason, and he was a huge, if not the biggest. Obviously, there were other people that were involved, obviously, but Schilling's pitching and
Manny and
Pedro's pitching and
Pedro
Manny and
who was the crazy? They had two different crazy relief pitchers. Who was the guy who did the weird, dance at the end of Papelbon?
Papelbon, yeah.
And who was the other reliever that they had for the last win?
The last one, it was Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah. They had some crazy. I mean, they had some good pitching.
It goes down in the
the
condor look.
Yeah,
whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to hit him with a bat for. But yeah, David Ortiz, just an amazing hitter. Just
an interesting thing about Ortiz. I'm just so glad he wasn't a Yankee. In the Nintendo 64 Major League Baseball 2000 game, you can have a draft. You can draft everybody. He is always the last DH taken.
Because the kids don't know who he is.
But this game was made 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I never quite understood that. I guess maybe one of the developers was a Yankee fan and hated David Ortiz, so he's always the last guy to go.
He would, if you're looking at taking an all-star team for the last 20 years, let's say, or he's one of the three guys that I know is sure as hell is on my list.
Right. So,
I think if you're starting an all-time baseball team and you have to put a DH on there,
he's the one to put on there.
Yeah. He's the guy.
Yeah. By no means should he not be on anybody's. So
if it has to be someone who played that DH position and you can't just take any hitter, then yes,
you just can't put Mickey Mantle in there.
Right. So there you go. Our number one, rounding out our top 10 designated hitters of all time. Number one, David Ortiz. All right. That brings us to our Old Balls section. Old Balls. Harry, tell us who this week's Old Balls is.
This week's recipient of the Old Balls Award is none other than Ron Blomberg. Now, why would you say Ron Blomberg? Who is that? Well, Ron Blomberg just happens to be the person who was the first ever designated hitter to play in a baseball game.
That would be correct.
That's right. He didn't have a super long career, but he was the first designated hitter in Major League Baseball history. Mm-hmm. And I believe that was in
1974?
74, yeah. He played 8 seasons, 293 batting average with 52 home runs and 224 RBIs. He had a 360 on base percentage, 473 slugging. He had a good
73,
run.
Actually, 73.
73, yeah, there you go. And, he had a short career. Again, he played for the Yankees, which was where his bat that he used for that is in Cooperstown. Mm-hmm. And he walked against Louis Tiant. And so that first at bat was in Fenway Park. So April 6th, that's right. He batted .329 that year. So I think he started off the long history of Yankee DHs in pretty good fashion. He was inducted into the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame in 2004. He received the City of Atlanta's Phoenix Award from Mayor Shirley Franklin for his outstanding service and achievements, both as a professional athlete and citizen, through his charity work in Atlanta. And Bloomberg was twice voted the most popular person in New York. Now, I'm guessing that maybe they're confusing him with another Bloomberg, but do you think he was actually the most popular? I don't know.
I remember having. I think it was.
Well, you know what it is. Later on in his, after his Major League Baseball career, he changed his name to Mike.
That's right, and cut a foot and a half off of his height. And
well, he walks around on his knees. That's right. It's deceiving.
Right. Anyway, I mean, it's rare that you could say that you can trace back a position in sports as the first person ever.
Yeah.
But and a lot of his popularity was due to the fact that he was a Jewish American playing in New York. There's 8 million Jews at the time in New York, and he was quoted as saying, "To be able to play in front of 8 million Jews, can't beat it." So I lit everyone's candles for every bar mitzvah in the city. It was like I was related to everyone. They named a sandwich after me at the Stage Deli.
Yes, they did.
But maybe he was for a while there. One of the one of the most popular people there. But it's interesting to think that the DH has only been around for, I guess it's been a while now, but it's there was a long period of time where we did not have it.
It's 40. This is the 49th season.
Yeah, it's almost the 50th anniversary of the designated hitter.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Boomer.
That's right.
Boomer. Ronald.
The first Boomer.
There you go. The first one.
Well, maybe.
that we know of anyway.
That we know of.
Exactly. That's this week's Old Balls.
Old balls.
There you go.
He went to Fairleigh Dickinson University, too.
He went to FDU, did he?
Yes, he did.
Look at that. There you go.
He's a terrible hitter when he was there, though.
He went there actually after baseball.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look at that. There you go.
He was still a terrible hitter when he was there.
He was there. He was horrible.
He wasn't.
He was zero. He didn't have one
Lost
hit.
it completely by then.
Yeah.
He didn't have one hit, but he also didn't have one at bat. So they didn't have the designated hitter in that league.
They didn't. Yeah. They didn't have the DH in Fairleigh Dickinson at the
That's
time.
right.
So, anyway, all right. Well, there you go. That is this week's Old Balls. Shall we move on to a couple of things in football? Really
Sure,
quick?
why not?
Why not?
Everybody loves football.
Well, there's just a couple things going on. I just figured I'd bring it up, throw the background there. Last week I asked you guys what you thought of was going to be the cover of Madden 22. And obviously the two goats that they teased in the commercial were indeed, you guys were right, it was Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going to throw the cover up there on the screen. There's the cover, Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. And it's titled the MVP edition. And they did bring to a few people have brought to attention the fact that it's really weird to have two quarterbacks on the cover of the MVP edition, and neither of them were the current MVP.
Well, they're not the current MVP.
So, just a little more Aaron Rodgers jokes. So, anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be doing any commercials for EA Sports.
Probably not. And on that note with Aaron Rodgers, Bleacher Report actually came out. They came out with a new proposed trade for a deal for the Broncos to acquire Mr. Rodgers. They would give up their first round pick next year, their second round pick next year, their first round pick in 2023, and that would be the starting point of the conversation.
And Trevor Story and Nikola Jokic.
There you go. Sure, why not? Anyway, but I don't think I don't think he's going anywhere. But on the Giants note, happy birthday to Sean O'Hara. It is his birthday today, June 23rd. And did you hear about the new signing by the Giants?
No.
A new signing by the Giants.
I don't start following football until October.
Well, it's not a player. It's personnel in the office.
Oh, okay.
Eli Manning is working for the Giants again.
Oh, wow. How exciting.
He is working in the business operations and fan engagement role.
Good for him.
There you go.
He got sick of being home and needed something to do.
Exactly. So, and one other thing really quick on the Giants. I don't know if you followed this story or whatever. Brandon Jacobs, he's been posting photos of his son. His son's 14 years old. He's just finished 8th grade. He's going to be a freshman. He's in Georgia, Alpharetta, Georgia. He's 6'4", 264 pounds, and he's 14 years old. Mm-hmm. That's the same height and weight that Brandon Jacobs was when he was in his rookie season with the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a funny coincidence. Figured I'd say that. He's not even a freshman in high school yet, and he's already getting college offers from Kansas State and Southern Illinois.
Imagine sending your kid to play little league football, and that guy comes steamrolling at you.
It's amazing. There was a picture that Brandon Jacobs put up. I don't have it.
He's sitting on the sidelines with an electric razor, shaving his beard.
His name is Braden. There's a picture of him standing. He's literally twice as tall as the kid that he was. He's an offensive tackle. Yeah. He's whatchamacallit, he was like almost twice as tall as the kid he was blocking. It was scary. It was funny. But anyway, and he's being recruited by Georgia Tech too. So and he's 14. That's amazing. So Jets wise, center Connor McGovern says that there's an awesome new energy around the Jets. I figured you'd like to hear that.
Did they buy some crystals and sage the training facility?
Hey.
Let me know when they win.
Exactly. And Quentin Williams says that C.J. Mosley's return has been a breath of fresh air. He's slim and fit and looks amazing.
No, there you go.
There you go.
It's a kiss of death right there.
So we'll see how that pans out for them. The only other thing I wanted to bring up, football-wise, was Deshaun Watson's legal troubles. Apparently, there's a timeline now. They could last till 2024.
Yeah. Let me let you in on a little secret. Deshaun Watson's not playing this year, might not play next year.
Yeah, well, that's basically what they're saying. Yeah, he's apparently he's not even scheduled to give his deposition until at a minimum next February.
He's going to be the backup host of Jeopardy for Aaron Rodgers.
There you go. Exactly. Crazy. But well, anyway, that's a quick trip through football. Not much, obviously.
No pun intended. Daniel Jones fans in the audience.
Yeah, well, are you one of them?
If you can't do it this year, the weapons that they have, I don't know. It's maybe Eli can step back in and for third down conversions or something.
This is true. He's technically on the Giants again of sorts, right? He could just suit up when he has to, right? He's there.
I don't know. It's just
we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's talk some NBA. What do you think? There's some games going on?
It's been one of the most exciting NBA playoffs I think I've ever watched.
You know what? I think we need to give the floor to Mr. Pete.
Yeah, he did an incredible job picking his winners.
Little prognostication there.
Rather be lucky than good, I guess.
Who would have thunk that Atlanta would be in the conference finals? Seriously.
Yeah. Makes me feel a little better about how bad the Knicks looked in the first round.
This is true.
Look, they got some guys stepping up.
Yeah, they got guys stepping up, and I think they're, sometimes you get a team that's they don't realize the situation they're in or what might be considered gravity by teams that have kind of been there before. Not that they haven't been to the playoffs ever, but we got nothing to lose, right? No one's expecting anything from them, so let's just go out and do what we do.
They're playing with house money.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the right phrase. So they're going to give it their all and take advantage of mistakes, and they got some pretty good coaching too.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they do, and
they grind you down. They wear you down.
Well, they had some guys that stepped up pretty big. I mean, Gallinari, just numbers aside, he just had a hell of a game. And look, yes, Atlanta played wonderful, and congratulations to the Hawks. But the 76ers self-imploded.
Oh, they did.
I mean, it was just hard to watch them, self-implode in the end. It was
ugly.
They've got some big decisions to make. It also proves my point that you can't build a championship team in this league around just a big man. You just can't do it. And what I mean by that is, Embiid, because I do think Embiid actually impressed me with how he played and how long he was able to play. And hopefully that injury, it didn't do permanent damage or any lingering damage to the tear that he had. But Tobias Harris had a good, but he sort of came up a little short in game 6 and 7, and the rest of that team just went to bed. I mean, it was the Ben Simmons situation is I've never seen anything like that in my life.
No,
I mean,
it was.
Yeah,
John Starks was laughing.
Yeah. Listen, that was.
I was going to say I have seen something like that, but not as bad as that.
Well, at least he shot. At least he took shots.
Yeah, but that was the decision that that Philly had to make, right? Who are they going to keep?
Right.
And
Trae Young did not have a great Game 7. He did.
Right. But that's the thing about this Atlanta team is I think maybe more so than many of these other teams, they have multiple guys that can step up. It's not just
Well, who
Herder, one other guy,
Gallinari, and Clint Capella had played a hell of a game, and on the other side of it, you got two teams in the Eastern Conference Finals that are really. I struggle with both teams. I mean, Atlanta actually, with Trae Young, they move the ball occasionally. They have great movement. He's able to penetrate. He's a dynamic player. Milwaukee beat the Nets, and it was really just a grinded out, ugly kind of performance.
It was.
And, it took Chris Middleton waking up to really pull them through in the end. Giannis puts up great numbers, but he's very predictable when he gets the ball in his hand. And surprisingly, Milwaukee has a hard time sometimes getting him the ball.
Yeah.
I think the key to this series is whether or not Milwaukee's coach can figure out how to keep the ball moving and not let it die in Drew Holiday's hands. Because I think Trae Young is going to eat Drew Holiday alive.
I can see that.
Okay.
And
Holiday just doesn't have enough big moments. He has one or two, and sometimes that's enough to tip the series.
He had enough. He had enough on the other night. He definitely did. But
on a game-to-game basis,
his shooting percentage is horrible, and the ball Giannis is posting with great, position down in the post, and he's just holding on to the ball to isolate.
Right.
I do not give whatever Mike Buckholz or whatever his name is of Milwaukee a lot of credit. I don't think he coached a great series.
No, the bottom line is if Kevin Durant's foot was a half an inch shorter than
if he wore a size 15 and a half versus a size 16, then that's what that. But the fact that it took the Nets that much to even to get that close is a sign that, they were hurt. I get it. Harden came back. He wasn't himself, although God, he sure could.
Well, yeah, you talk
complain his ass off the whole game.
You kind of wish Harden was doing what Ben Simmons was doing and not shooting instead of putting up the bricks he was.
Yeah. I mean, look, go Bucks. My teams were out of it, but there was nothing better than watching that team of just unlikable superstar money grubbing, superstar team building, underperforming Nets lose. It was fabulous.
And Pete, he means it with all the respect to you in the world. There,
all the respect in the
world. Not much is due, I don't think. So, listen, whatever. What did I say? I said they were going to have injuries, and they wouldn't.
You did. You said you
called
didn't.
it.
I think we both had way more confidence in the Nets than you did.
Yeah.
And
look,
Durant,
I thought they were going to be able to
fantastic.
do it. And you know what? If Harden was Harden, they would have done it. They could have done it with two of the three. They didn't need all three. They had all three of them. Forget about it.
Well, they won more games without Harden than with Harden.
They did. Yeah, Harden was not helpful. And
I would argue about that because he did. I think it was part of the. Well, he also made people eat up a lot of energy, exert a lot of energy on the defensive side.
True. But as far as shots, though, I mean, he just was.
We'll see. I mean,
it was.
We'll see next year.
Yeah, there was a lot of rust that just didn't get.
Oh God! But he went to the free throw line a lot. I would say 50% of those were undeserved.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's just I just hate watching that the way he just backs into people, and it's just.
And I'll just say this again, and I know he's unlikable, and he's unlikable for me too, and he's a bit of a space cadet and all that, but. Kyrie Irving's just a great player and just does a lot of
big loss, a
lot of good things. And look, we can argue about which
Kyrie
two of the three they would be better off. That's a moot point at this point. But man, they just really missed his versatility. I think.
Yeah,
yep, absolutely.
No, I mean a healthy Nets team wins.
Mm-hmm.
Just win next year, man.
Well, and they'll be back next year. I mean, I think they're all signed for next year, aren't they? Or is Harden? Yeah, they're all signed for next year.
Harden's got another year. Yeah,
Harden's got another year. Kyrie's back. Durant's back. So
they can win it next year and then go their separate ways.
I think the difference was that the Bucks bench. outplayed the Nets bench. And but I mean,
Joe Harris
disappeared. But I'll tell you what,
he was a no-show.
Here's to the old guys, because I was for a while there. I was watching Brooke Lopez and Blake Griffin go at it, and I'm like, "What is it? 2007? What's the hell's going on here?"
Exactly.
Lopez kills me.
I mean, both of those guys sort of pulled out. I give them both credit; they both played pretty well.
Yeah, listen, Blake Griffin was great in this series, and I kept thinking, boy, he
really was.
What if they had
LaMarcus
Aldridge?
He played great.
That's what I kept thinking.
Remember they signed Aldridge, right? Jeez.
Yeah.
That would have been. I mean, I think that would have been a game changer.
They probably would have won
if Aldridge was on there. Yeah.
Look, the Bucks are a strange team. I don't know why Giannis didn't cover Durant. I think PJ Tucker is the kind of heart and soul of that team. But I mean, to say he maybe wore Durant down as Durant was scoring 48.
Absolutely did. I mean, Durant was like,
but Durant played 53 minutes
in the overtime.
He played 53 minutes.
Yeah.
There was something going on in that arena in Brooklyn, because even Giannis in the first half couldn't make it up the court. I mean, they were all very, very winded, and I'm wondering if it had something to do with was it hot in there? Was the HVAC not working correctly? Was it not? Did they weren't used to maybe having a capacity crowd? I don't know.
Too much aroma from Spider Tack.
That's right.
This might sound ridiculous, but when the place is full, there's a lot more CO2.
Yeah, exactly.
Being expelled by
that is true.
breathing.
That is true.
That's what I mean.
You would think the ventilation system would get rid of that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe the HVAC system wasn't adjusted. Those guys were. I mean, they're at sea level or really close to it. I mean, I think Barclays is probably as close to sea level as you're going to get
of any of these.
Pretty much.
And those guys were struggling, and Giannis and Durant are incredibly fit athletes. So it was. I saw a lot of guys kind of struggling through that game. Yeah. They played a lot of minutes. Look, congratulations to the Bucks. I think it's the worst coach series I've ever seen by two coaches in the history of an NBA semifinals. How you cannot grab your team and say, when Giannis is in the blocks, get him the ball, and how you cannot take him and say, just spin towards the hole and shoot. Please. I've never seen a guy that big get it in the blocks and then dribble backwards like a crab to shoot a jumper. It's so interesting.
It looked at times like someone who really wasn't
never played basketball,
right? But who had been taught a couple of moves, right? Like a guitar player who learned 3 or 4 cool licks, but didn't really know how to play.
Yeah, when the bass player tries to play a guitar solo, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
On the bass.
Yeah, and listen, and I'll say this:
finger tapping
on the drums.
I'll be interested to see, what Steve Nash does next year, and I guess he did a pretty good job overall. But this is kind of why, look, if there's ever a team where you're going to hire a neophyte coach and have a decent chance of winning, it was this Nets team. Assuming
sure, he's the Steve Kerr of the East,
right? But I don't know what he did to make things better when they were struggling. I don't think he really. I'm not hating on him or anything, but he's a new coach, and
I don't think
he didn't have 20 years of experience coaching behind him to try this is what you need to do. Yeah,
this series is very much like a microcosm of the season, right? They look great sometimes, they look terrible other times. I don't know if he had any effect on what they did, or if it was just guys go out and play, box out.
Right.
Yeah, that was all I ever seemed to hear him.
That's it.
We're
zoom in on the timeout.
We're talking a lot about that series. Meanwhile, it's unfortunate that injuries have sort of ruined in a lot of ways the chances for a lot of these teams. Who knows if Kawhi is even going to play in Game 3?
Right.
They don't need him.
But look, the Suns are a hell of a team, and I'm going to say this: Devin Booker is a guy that nobody knows about, who might just be the best player left in the playoffs right now. And that Phoenix Suns seems, like I've been saying, I know all the credit to Chris Paul. I know he had a big part in what they did, but that team is way, way deeper than Chris Paul. And Booker and Ayton are amazing. And that end of that game last night proved it. I mean, this is a team that has a really, really good balance of role players, defensive players, rebounders, and maybe the best scorer left. I mean, now that Durant is out, I think Devin Booker is
He's
a really, really hard guy to cover.
Yeah.
And he creates in ways that a lot of other guys don't. And don't sleep on this Suns team. Now, having said that, the NBA is cringing right now thinking about a Milwaukee Phoenix NBA Finals.
And that's what you're – yeah, I mean, you're –
Yeah, there's not a lot of sexy to that.
Nope.
And look, if Kawhi doesn't come back, I mean,
I don't think the Clippers have a chance without him.
Yeah, and listen, I think that was the third leg of my trifecta, which I don't know how they did actually close that out without Kawhi, but
yeah,
the Phoenix is just too good.
Yeah,
Phoenix is good. They've beaten a bunch of good teams to get there, and
yeah.
Utah looked a little off. I think Donovan Mitchell's injury was a little bit more severe than any. I think he had a little bit more rust there. But Phoenix is a deep team. I've watched them a bit more. I mean, I get to watch them, late at night. They play the Nuggets a lot more. They're a really, really good team. Look, they match up against Milwaukee. They match up against
so what's a better series? Forget about TV ratings or what the NBA wants.
I think
let's assume it's Phoenix.
Right. If Kawhi doesn't play, then I think it's going to be Phoenix. And I think don't sleep on Atlanta, because Atlanta, they've got guys that are playing the best basketball of their careers right now and they're peaking. Yeah. But I think a Phoenix-Milwaukee series is a pretty darn good basketball series. And you're going to watch two of the best players in the NBA who have never been this deep into the playoffs before in their lives. Yeah, and, absolutely. Chris Paul should be back by then, hopefully. That adds, I think, a little bit of a wrinkle in a story. But the front line of that Suns team, they've got a great guard who can create for himself, and they have a dominant front line. Yep. And I think they can shut down Giannis. And Ayton is a hell of a player. Both offensively and defensively. And they've got some other guys on there that they're deep. They're deep on that front court. They're long, they're big, they're strong, they're athletic, they can rebound, they can score. And Phoenix is a tough team. They're a tough team.
Very tough team. I think you're going to have a great series with Milwaukee and Atlanta. It's not going to be over by any means. It's going to go 6 or 7.
And two great cities that deserve it. I mean, people don't realize how much of a sports town Atlanta is.
Oh, yeah.
And how much of a basketball town it really is, and they have not had somebody make it this far. What is it, 2010 when they made it to or was it later than that when they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals? Yeah. But I mean, the Hawks haven't had a championship. All of these teams, if it's obviously the Clippers, Bucks, Suns, and Hawks, these are teams that have not been there, and you got to go back to the days of, Alvin Adams to think about the Suns getting this far anywhere. Right. I mean, Charles Barkley, obviously, and Thunder Dan Marley and all that stuff. But, four really big sports towns, and, with Phoenix, Atlanta,
Milwaukee just, they go crazy over there with their Bucks. Yeah. They really,
it's going to be, I mean, they had a couple, 30,000 people outside watching the end of that game.
Yeah.
So the game, the previous, and now the Bucks have home court.
Yep. Yeah, they do. So it's going to be interesting. I think, like I said, it's going to go 6 or 7. I think you're going to see it.
Don't count Atlanta out. Everybody's saying the Bucks are going to win in 5 or 4.
No, not at all.
This Atlanta team has some great shooters. I mean, Herter and Gallinari and Herter have been the difference. And man, I've never been a huge Danilo Gallinari fan, but he is one of those guys who, in the later part of his career, his basketball IQ is amazing, and that steal he made on Embiid, that's the kind of play that a big time player does. In that he's the Robert Horry of this team right now. And
which one of these matchups though is, and I'm not saying they're going to, but which one of these the two teams in the East is the more likely to? Like, I worry about either one of them, shrinking when they get to the finals. Having such I mean, again, Atlanta has nothing to lose.
Well, I think that
sometimes you get into it takes getting into the finals, let's say.
I think Trae Young
the enormity of it crushes.
Yeah. I think Young had a rough night. He seemed a little rushed and off in the game 7. I don't think he'll shrink. I think with the Bucks, it's a matter of they've just got some guys who are not really capable of. They try to do things that they can't do. Giannis can't be shooting 3-pointers. He's got to score in the paint, and that's when they dominate. I think if it's my prediction would be the Suns and the Bucks, and I think you're going to have a great series because the key. I mean, Chris Middleton versus Devin Booker. Right. With PJ Tucker double teaming some of these guys and Giannis going against Ayton and Crowder. I mean, this is going to be a good series. And
there's also a sense of validation for the Bucks. I mean, every team obviously their goal is to win, but with letting what's his name Brogdon.
Yeah,
letting him go, and then a lot of people said, "Oh, that was a big mistake," and then bringing in Drew Holiday, and people said, "Oh, that's not really the answer." So they've got a lot to prove.
Well, I mean, you got to remember too, no matter what, whether it's Milwaukee or Atlanta that comes out of the East, Phoenix is going to be well rested by the time they get to the
maybe. I mean, don't count.
God, I just the Clippers out yet, but
I'm not counting the Clippers out. They may
coming back,
without Kawhi though.
And injuries, it's just like wow.
Yeah, and finally, and look, I feel bad for Kawhi because finally, out from under the shadow of the Big Brother Lakers, right, and the LA scene.
Well, look, Kawhi wanted his second championship, though, basically within similar situations where, injuries paved the way. And up, the Toronto, you could say Toronto was the Atlanta Hawks when they beat the Sixers a couple of years ago. And then, they got, would they have beaten a team that had Klay Thompson and a healthy Durant? I don't think so. But so we'll see. I mean, this is how these things sometimes happen when all the cards kind of go in your way. And look, I think it's between Chris Paul and Giannis, it's who is going to take advantage of this? Because let me tell you something, might not come again. Might not come again for either of them. And so it's going to be interesting.
Well, we will see how we'll see how it all pans out. We got, the Bucks and the Hawks are playing tonight.
It's 46-45.
And Game 3 of the West is tomorrow, so we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see how it goes. We'll know a lot more, obviously, next week on next week's show. So we'll see how that goes.
Will we? Will we really know a lot more?
I think we might.
I know a little less every day.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I'm going to forget some things, I'm sure.
There you go. Hockey.
Are we going to talk about hockey? I gotta go.
Just for a brief second, and then we'll.
I got 2 minutes, and I got to go.
Well, we only need about a minute. So.
All right.
Right now, the
Montreal's going to win.
Islanders are down 1-0.
It's not going to be the
home. It's not. I think Lightning wins tonight. That's a shame. It would Game 7 would be cool, but even if it does go back to Tampa, Tampa's winning in Tampa. So
Montreal.
I'm not giving up on them yet.
We'll see.
But if it's Tampa and Montreal, go Habs.
There you go. And does Vegas win another game though?
Yeah, I think they have. That's an interesting team. I think they do win another game, and I think they win the next one. Obviously, this one's not.
They lose the next one, but they'll win Game 7.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet.
It's 5 out of 7 now.
That's a good team in Vegas
because they're Canadian.
It is.
Yeah, it's going to come down to like which of those two teams. Which of them have the better blitz, right? Because they both kind of have this,
right? They're both
periods where they come out and they're swarming and they're getting a lot of shots. Montreal tends to do it early.
Montreal's a better defensive team, and Vegas seems to have lost that just dominant speed. Montreal's been able to. They've lost that love and feeling. Yeah. Montreal's been able to tie them up a little bit more than the Avalanche.
They have. They have been.
And
it's another series under the belt, and another 5 games, and eventually you just wear down.
Yeah,
that's right.
This is true. We'll see what happens with that. But you see, Lou Lamoriello won GM of the Year. Again, it's 2 in a row. He's the first time GM's won the recipient.
He also won. Twice. He also grew the largest zucchini in this year's.
He did.
Yeah.
He did, and
best Italian eggplant salad.
Immediately went home and cut it up and made an Italian eggplant salad with zucchini. Exactly. Yeah. So, and the Rangers have a new coach, Gerard Gallant.
Good for them.
He was quoted as saying he wants the Rangers to be the hardest working team in the league. So we'll see how that goes next year. But this year first, we'll see how the Cup goes, as we get closer, we will see.
All right,
we'll definitely know that next week.
Probably be all in the finals, right? No, they'll still be playing basketball.
They'll still be playing the conference finals in basketball. The
Canadians,
the Cup will know.
I think the Canadians have a good chance against the Suns.
The Canadians do have a good chance against the Suns.
That'd be a slaughter.
Especially because every other game is on ice and they have home field advantage. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Chris Paul can't skate.
No.
It's very difficult. And, Devin Booker is just horrible when he's in the net. So it's not going to be good. So anyway. All right. Well, that'll wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of the shows are also on YouTube as well on the Locker Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at 7:30. We had a special 7 o'clock night tonight. But for those of you that just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Watch a lot of sports. Enjoy, and we will talk to you soon, folks. Take care. Cheers.